Welcome back to my channel. In today's video we are going to talk about whether Bitcoin is actually digital gold or not. I'm sure that most of you have already heard about the statement that Bitcoin is like digital gold, and I also used to believe that as well, but I don't think that this is true anymore, and I will tell you exactly why I believe that in this video. So if you're new to my channel, you have probably not seen my video where I told you at the beginning of February that I sold my Bitcoin position completely at around 98,000 US dollars. And in that video I explained why the US is not going to buy Bitcoin. This was before the announcement of the strategic reserve, and it happened exactly as I predicted it. They announced a strategic reserve, but only with the already confiscated Bitcoin, and they are not going to buy any new Bitcoin. Back then, many influencers and YouTubers talked about that big nations are going to buy Bitcoin, but to me it was very obvious that this is not the case. After that video right here, you should watch this video where I explained to you why states and big nations are not going to buy Bitcoin. And a few videos earlier I also told you that there is not going to be an altcoin season in February and the beginning of March, and this happened exactly as predicted as well. Back then in January and February, most of the YouTubers expected an altcoin season because they said it is going to be like it was in 2021, but it was very obvious that this would not happen. But now let's get back to the topic of today's video. Is Bitcoin actually digital gold or not? So in order to answer that question, we should first take a look at gold, and I'm sure that many of you are familiar with the supply concept of gold. The gold supply is limited by nature, and of course gold is getting mined every year, so the supply of gold above the ground is growing by around 2% per year. And the key point of the metal is that gold can be used in electronic devices, gold can also be used in space technology, and it is also used for medical applications, which means that gold is actually used in the real industry. But the even bigger use case of gold is jewelry. So when we take a look at the usage of gold by sector, we find out that around 50% is used for jewelry, 30% as investments, 10% are held by central banks, and around 10% are used in the industry. Those numbers are just approximations because they are very hard to find and they could be a little bit different in reality. So the key point to get out of that is that gold is actually used in the real world, and even if people would stop investing in gold, and even if central banks wouldn't buy gold anymore and would sell their gold, gold would not drop to zero because people want to use it as jewelry, and it is used for technologies in the industry, for example in electronic devices. Also very important to understand is that the 10% are based on current gold prices, which means if the gold price would go down, let's say gold would drop by 50%, gold would be used more in the technology and industry sector. And if gold would be cheaper, people would also buy more gold in order to use it for the jewelry. And only because gold is used for jewelry and in the industry, only because of that, people want to invest in it, and central banks can hold it as a store of value. If gold would not have a use case in the industry and for jewelry, it wouldn't be possible to invest in gold the way people are investing in it right now. So let's make the comparison to Bitcoin. And in order to do that, I want to take a look at all the arguments that Bitcoin maximalists are telling people all of the time. And we will go through each of that argument one after another. So 1 to 5 are the main arguments, and 6 and 7 are just two other things that I want to talk about. So the first argument would be scarcity. The second argument is internet money. The third argument is that Bitcoin is the best portable asset across borders. The fourth argument is that Bitcoin is unconfiscatable and censorship resistant. And the fifth argument is that Bitcoin is a store of value. And then I want to talk about whether Michael Saylor is a genius or not, and the phrase that people are always saying, just hodl your Bitcoin, never sell. So the first argument that Bitcoin maximalists use in order to say that Bitcoin is valuable is scarcity. Of course, the Bitcoin supply is capped to 21 million. So they say Bitcoin is the scarcest asset in the world, the scarcest asset that exists, and Bitcoin is valuable because of that. But the problem with that argument alone is that scarcity itself doesn't give any value, because let's just imagine one of us creates a token and cap the supply. It wouldn't mean anything if you cannot use the thing and people don't want to buy it, because scarcity alone does not make it valuable in any way, shape or form. So the scarcity argument alone is definitely the worst argument the Bitcoin maximalists have. Of course, if something is used by people and a lot of people want to have it, scarcity is a multiplier to make things more expensive if they have a real use case. But to sum it up, scarcity alone doesn't make anything valuable. So the second argument that they bring is that Bitcoin is internet money. And this argument is also very, very weak, because it is very easy to see that nobody uses Bitcoin to pay anywhere, not even really in El Salvador, where Bitcoin is legal tender. Bitcoin is around 15 years. Nobody uses it to pay online anywhere, and nothing is priced in Bitcoin. Nobody goes to Amazon and buys something in Bitcoin. No big shop accepts Bitcoin. No big shops price anything in Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not internet money. I think you cannot say anything against that. It is just so obvious to see. So Bitcoin is definitely not an everyday currency. The third argument that Bitcoiners give is that Bitcoin is the best portable asset across borders. And of course, that's definitely true. You can send Bitcoin across borders very easy. But the problem is that it's nothing special about Bitcoin, because you can do it with any other cryptocurrency as well. You can even do it with stable coins that are reflecting the US dollar. So this fact alone is not adding any value to Bitcoin. Then the fourth argument, I think this is the most funny one. Bitcoiners always say that Bitcoin is not confiscatable and it is censorship resistant. The government cannot take it. First of all, this would also be true for any other cryptocurrency. You have the private key and you're the only person who can access to it. It is nothing special about Bitcoin. But the funny part of it, if Bitcoin is really unconfiscatable, how does it come that the US government announced a strategic Bitcoin reserve with 200,000 confiscated Bitcoin? How does it come if Bitcoin is unconfiscatable? It is not. We are human and the government can still take it. So for the next argument, we will also jump into the charts very quick. The fifth argument, Bitcoin is a perfect store of value. And whenever Bitcoiners use that argument, they say zoom out 10 years, everybody who bought 10 years ago is in big profit, so Bitcoin is a store of value. But to me, that has nothing to do with being a store of value. A store of value means that you can keep purchasing power. For example, you have some money and you want to put it into something, and 1 month later, 2 months later, you want to have the same purchasing power, or as nearly the same purchasing power as possible. And when we jump into the Bitcoin chart, it is very obvious that Bitcoin is not a store of value. So for example, when you would have bought here in January 2025, until today you would have already lost 22% of the purchasing power approximately. And it has nothing to do with the fact that it is up since last September, because if somebody puts in his money here in January and loses 20% of the purchasing power in 1 month, 2 months, it is not a store of value. And the argument that, oh yeah, everybody who bought in 2015 is in profit, it has nothing to do with being a store of value, because let's take a look at Tesla. Tesla is also up. Everybody who bought in 2015 is up. Nobody would say that Tesla is a store of value. Tesla also dropped over 50% in, let's say, 1 or 2 months. So how can be something like that be a store of value? It has nothing to do with whether Bitcoin is a currency or not. If it drops 50%, it can't be a store of value. If a fiat currency loses 20% of purchasing power 1 year, people say this is not a store of value. But Bitcoin can lose 70% in 1 year, and people call it store of value. That's just crazy. It makes no sense at all. So the next point is that Michael Saylor is a genius. He is like the god of Bitcoin for the Bitcoin maximalists, and many people are saying that he found an unlimited money glitch where he's just buying more and more Bitcoin and he is getting richer and richer, right? So if he has found an unlimited money glitch, why is no other company doing it? In a second, I will show you that he is selling his own MicroStrategy stocks. and he did the same thing in the year 2000. Back then he didn't sell his own stocks, but he did the same thing with raising money, and at the end MicroStrategy crashed over 99% and he lost many billions because he didn't sell his stock. But this time he is smarter and he abuses the Bitcoin maximalists. He tells them what they want to hear, he lends money, he raises money to buy Bitcoin, to pump the share price, then he's selling his own stock, and sooner or later MicroStrategy will collapse, the stock will go completely bust, and he has cashed out until then, and all the retailers who have the stock will lose their money. So here we go. MicroStrategy insider buying and selling by quarter. As you see, 2023, 2024, total insider selling, everything's red, insiders are selling. Here you see it, Michael J. Saylor, April 2024, selling his stocks, 6 million, 6 million, 3 million, 2 million, 7, 7, 7, 1, 8, 8. So he's not just selling 1 or 2 million in order to finance his life. No, he is cashing out big time. He knows exactly what he's doing. He knows that what he's doing is not sustainable. And if MicroStrategy implodes, he doesn't care because he already has his money. Michael Saylor is a genius, yes, but not in the way Bitcoin maximalists think. Every one of us knows this phrase, just hodl, never sell your Bitcoin. Why do people say that? Because you can't do anything with your Bitcoin. The only thing you can do is trying to sell it to somebody else in the future for a higher price. And Michael Saylor uses this phrase perfectly. He uses what everybody wants to hear. He just says, never sell your Bitcoin, because he knows MicroStrategy cannot sell any Bitcoin. If MicroStrategy would sell only one Bitcoin today, Bitcoin would crash immediately. Of course, this whole thing with MicroStrategy has nothing to do with whether Bitcoin is digital gold or not, but let's take a look at the next thing, the correlation. Bitcoin is not very correlated with gold. Over the last weeks, gold is up and Bitcoin is down. You can see it easily. Stock market is down, Nasdaq is down, Bitcoin is down. Gold is up because of the uncertainties in the US, and normally if Bitcoin was independent of government and safe asset comparable to gold, digital gold, why should Bitcoin not be up in those times, right? We would expect Bitcoin to go up in times of uncertainty if it was digital gold. So my conclusion, and I'm not the only one who is saying that, many smart people are saying the same thing, Bitcoin is just a meme coin, and the meme is Bitcoin is digital gold. But if you watch this video carefully and you're open to it, you might understand that Bitcoin is actually not like digital gold, and this is only the meme behind it that people are telling over and over again. Only because something is repeated all of the time, it doesn't make it true. And another important thing that I want to say at the end of this video, I'm not a Bitcoin hater. I made a lot of money with Bitcoin. My average entry was around 30k and I sold at 97, 98k. As I told you in my video, the US will not buy Bitcoin, and I don't say that Bitcoin cannot go up again. This guy is trying to raise another 21 billion, and if he pumps the 21 billion into Bitcoin, Bitcoin could easily go to 120, 130, 150k this year. So I'm not short. I'm not saying that Bitcoin is going down this year. If he's able to raise the 20 billion or even 10 billion and will pump it into the market, Bitcoin will go up. It has nothing to do with whether Bitcoin is digital gold or not. The price movement doesn't confirm anything. So that was it with my video. Is Bitcoin digital gold or not? Here you can see my conclusion. I'm totally fine with it if you see it different. If you think Bitcoin is digital gold, let me know about your arguments down below in the comments. If you want to help me, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and check out one of my last videos. Goodbye.